Hi everybody, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. Today we are going to be trialling out lots of new releases from e.l.f. These are brand new releases in the UK. If you're in the US, you may have had these for quite some time, but they've only just dropped here, and it's taken me a couple of weeks to get my hands on these because the warehouses in the UK are running a lot slower because of all the new COVID restrictions. Not complaining in the slightest, whatever keeps them safe, and you know, there was no makeup emergency here, so I'm definitely not complaining. So there are a couple of items that haven't arrived that are in a later delivery. I'll put those in a video that's, you know, yet to be filmed. But today, because I have no foundation from e.l.f. that I really like, I'm really sorry for all you e.l.f. foundation lovers. It just does not suit my skin. I've applied my favourite foundation, which is the DIOR Forever Skin Glow, and I've also put a little bit of colour corrector underneath my eyes. And we're going to run straight into the first e.l.f. product. Now, am I going to do concealer first, or am I going to do... Yes, I am. I'm going to do concealer first. This is the brand new Flawless, I don't even know what it's called, Flawless Brightening Concealer. And I've got this in the shade Fair 10, which I can already tell you because I've already tried this, is really pale. And I mean really, really pale. But I've got a feeling that the one up from this would have been too deep. And I think there was a bit of a shade picker thing on the e.l.f. website to tell me which one would be the best fit for me, and it came out with this one. Did I dream that? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I was told to buy this one, I bought this one. It's very pale. So it does have a little clicker on the bottom. I like these and I don't like these. They often malfunction for me, so it's a bit annoying when you bought the product and you can't literally get any of the product out once this clicker breaks. So I think I would have preferred a squeezy tube, but never mind. So you can see how pale this is. I mean, like, wow. This is rather pale. This has got quite a few reflective particles in there. Let me read you the bump on this. Luminosity is a click away. Create a brightened, flawless complexion with a click of a pen. Use this buildable, brightening concealer to highlight all over your face. This luxurious but lightweight formula brightens and highlights your key features. Infused with hyaluronic acid and vitamin C, this formula works to conceal uneven skin tones. So, as you can see, it's definitely brightened that area, and it is rather reflective. I mean, that still looks quite damp on my skin. It still looks quite dewy, and it's not. It's dried down. So that's quite impressive. So let's just try and build this up a little bit. Now, when I tried it the other day, I was actually on a FaceTime call with my mum. We try products out together. So I had nothing else on my face. I was literally just trying out this concealer on its own. So it was really, really pale, and it had very little coverage to it whatsoever, which is why I've applied a colour corrector underneath this to just give it a little bit of welly. That's really, really nice. That is so much nicer than when I tried it the other day. I actually thought I was going to film this video today and not like this. Just goes to show that it does look different when you have makeup products on your face, and the extra coverage that this gives because I've put a colour corrector on underneath really makes a difference. So I'm going to give this concealer a couple of minutes to dry down, although it already feels like it's soaked into the skin. Let's see if the concealer moves around, whether it creases, before I set it in place. Because if you don't need to set it in place, I would prefer not to have to set it in place. Let's move on to eyes. And I've picked up some of the brand new shades from the liquid metallic eyeshadow ranges from e.l.f. Now, this one is in the shade Galaxy. This one is in the shade Mood. They just jumped out of the page for me on the website. They were so, so pretty. So if I get an eyeshadow brush. So you can blend this with your fingers, but I prefer to blend it with a brush because I just feel like you get a more natural look with this. I'm going straight in with Galaxy. and I'm really spreading that quite quickly because, as you can see, this really adheres to the skin and then it's more difficult to blend. That's slightly difficult to use. You really do need to be quick with this. I mean, that's nice. Up close, it's slightly patchier, but I think when you start building that up, it'll become far, far nicer. Let's see if you need to work as fast if you do finger application. So instead of applying this to the actual eye, I'm going to put a bit on my finger and pat that in place. I like that. I'm going to do the other side and I'll be back. Okay, so halfway through doing this eye, I've realised that I did this eye completely wrong. You need to apply quite a lot of product to the lid, and if you do that, it's so much easier. It really is a lot easier. So I was applying really small amounts, thinking that it was going to cling to the eyelid and it was going to be difficult to blend out. It's actually easier to blend out and a lot easier to apply the more product you put there. So that is definitely a tip. It's going on far better with more product and it's a lot easier to handle. So these two have just been out for a treat and delivered me mine whilst I'm working. My Costa Coffee, what is it, a mint choc chip?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Oh yes. So let's move on to the lower lash line. This is the shade Moon, and I'm just going to use this and a pencil brush, which is my number 3 from Refa, and I'm going to take a bit of that product and just run it in the center, just to open up that area a little bit, and then pop it in the inner corner. I'm going to take a tiny bit of the shade Galaxy, using the same brush, and just pop it on that outer edge. Really nice. Now I can definitely see underneath my eyes that this concealer has moved. If I zoom you in here a little bit, I'm not quite sure if you'll see, but if I pull my face down a little bit, which I don't advise that anybody does, this is just to let everybody know that it has creased in this area. So I'm just going to take my concealer brush again and go over that area. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the Halo Glow setting powder, which is the only setting powder that I have from e.l.f. I prefer to use this as a finishing powder if I'm being completely honest, but you know, this is what I've got to work with. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this to a small brush and knock off all the excess before I pop that underneath to set that in place. I mean, it didn't move completely noticeably, but it definitely had moved, and I don't want to be checking my face in the mirror all the time throughout the day. Okay, before I do my lashes, let's move on to brows. This is not new from e.l.f., but it is a freebie that they threw in for me because I spent so much with them. So this is the, I don't even know what it is. There is a cream product in here and there's also a powder product. So the cream product is the darker one and the lighter product is the powder. And I have read up on this because, you know, I'm not an expert on applying these sorts of brow products. So it does say use the angle brush to apply the brow gel to define and shape the brows, and then use the blending brush to set the colour in place with the brow powder. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the little brush provided and use this angled brush to apply this deeper gel creamy eyebrow product. It looks really quite warm. This is in the shade Light, so I mean, we'll see what it goes on like. A little bit warmer than I would usually go for, but we'll give it a go. This is slightly clinging to my brow hairs and not filling what's underneath, which, you know, it's not great. I can already tell you I don't like this. But I'm going to try and make it work. It's literally, it's not doing anything. It's clinging to the hairs that I already have there, which defeats the object, and it's just not filling in what's underneath the brows. I really don't like this. I'm going to try and take as much of it off my brows as physically possible with a tissue. I'm going to go and do my brows the way that I normally do them, and yeah, I'll be back. This might work for some people, but for my brows, I mean, it's going to take me about 20 minutes to do my brows the way that this is wanting me to do them, and it's also not the right shade for me. Although it's not that bad, it's not too warm, but if you zoom in, there are missing gaps, there's things that it's just not adhering to the skin behind the brow hairs. I have gaps all over the place, and I've been at it now for a good 15 minutes. It's just not working for me. I'll be back. Okay, so 15 minutes I was trying to make this work. I took it off, and 3 minutes later, piff, paff, puff, the brows are done. That says quite a lot. I mean, I tried to persevere with this because I know my preference is something else, and I know I've been using that product for a really long time, so it's going to be faster and easier for me to apply, but this just really wasn't working for me. So let's move on to lashes. This is the e.l.f. Lash It Loud Volumizing Mascara. I've heard really good things about this, so I'm eager to get some on my lashes. Let me just show you the wand because it's really quite sturdy and more rubbery and plasticky. It's quite a synthetic brush, and the bristles on it are really small. A little bit like the Benefit Bad Gal Bang wand, but not as thin. So let's get some of this on. I'm already liking how it's coating the lashes. That's really good. It's very even. There's no clumps. It's keeping everything really separated, but also adding volume at the same time. And for one coat, this has actually added a decent amount of volume. Okay, let's move on to blush because I've got a feeling that's going to bring everything together. I really did like the mascara. It's not my favourite for my lower lashes because I don't like a lot of volume on my lower lashes, and this seriously does volumize your lashes. I found it really quick, really easy to use, and because of the really short bristles, it didn't push the lashes back and not coat them. It coated every single one effortlessly. So I really enjoyed that, but I will probably use something else for my lower lashes. Okay, so I have one of the Putty blushes to try out today. I've really no idea what colour this is. I will find out what colour it is and I'll link it in the description box for everybody. I've not tried this before. Let me just read the bump because I want to apply it correctly, otherwise I'll get told off. Especially if it doesn't work and I don't like it, I will seriously get told off. So say hello to that island glow. This lightweight but buildable putty to powder blush, sounds intriguing, blends seamlessly into the skin. Infused with argan oil and vitamin E, this silky smooth buildable formula will give you a flushed from within glow. My kind of thing. Directions. Using the Putty blush brush Or clean fingers, gently pat over the apples of the cheeks, continue patting for a smooth, seamless blend. Okay, we can do that. I don't particularly have clean fingers. They've got chocolate all over them still. Let's see what it's like with both a brush and finger application. So I'm just gonna smooth my finger in this a little bit. It feels quite nice. It feels like a lip balm rather than a putty. It's definitely not a waxy feel. And I know it said the apples of the cheeks, but you know, I don't like applying on the apples of the cheeks immediately. Let's just apply where I want it first. It's definitely pigmented. Definitely pigmented. More difficult to blend out a little bit. Let's see if it's better with a brush. So I'm going to put the tiniest bit on the bristles of a brush and then just stipple that on the skin. No, it's not really, I mean, it's nice, but it's slightly more difficult to blend. It's definitely more work. I mean, it's achievable. It's definitely achievable, but it just takes a little longer. I think I prefer the blush application. It's slightly more even without getting those dots on the skin from a finger application. And I'm finding that it's moving the rest of my products underneath because I'm having to blend quite aggressively with my finger when I'm using finger application. So I'm preferring a brush. So I'm gonna go in and even the rest of my face off. I've got a couple of their Mini Face Duo palettes. This one here is in the shade Lychee and this one here is in the shade Guava. One is more neutral brownie and the other one is more peachy in tone. I actually thought this one was slightly pinkier than it's turned out to be. So, I mean, I like it. It's okay. I'm actually going to use this one. In fact, we'll use both of these palettes today. They are so affordable. You can actually go out and buy more than one and try them out. So let's go for the more brownie one in the shade Lychee first. And I'm just gonna, oh, this is definitely pigmented. Look at that. That, you know, that's taken me by surprise a little bit. And I'm not quite sure why, because e.l.f. powders tend to be quite pigmented. Let me get some finishing powder and buff that away because that's a bit much. So I'm actually using finishing powder on the same brush that I've got the blush. So I'm just applying that blush and then I'm dipping into my finishing powder and really swirling that in to blend. And you get a lovely finish. Really, really beautiful. So that's really pretty. Let's have a look what the corally one, which is in the shade Guava, looks like. I'm just gonna pop a tiny bit down. Knowing how pigmented they are, let's go in a little bit more gently with this one. It's really, really pretty, this one. I mean, it's not needed because I've already got blush on, but you know, I want to try out as many of these products as possible. Let's go down the nose with this. That's a really, really pretty blush. Okay, let's have a look at the highlighters. I have a feeling that this highlighter in the shade Lychee is going to be way too dark for me. I mean, yeah, that's just going to be far too dark for my skin tone, but I would definitely use this shade in the center of my lid. The highlighter in the shade Guava is also too dark for my skin tone. It's more of a goldy shade and, you know, against my skin tone, it's just gonna look too deep. So once again, let's just pop that in the center of the lid. It's a very, very pretty though, but definitely, I mean, let's just pop a little bit on the end of my nose. It just, It's way too dark. Way too dark for me. Let's do the lips. I do have one of the Ride or Die lip balms in the shade Tough Cookie. Now this has got like a butterscotch flavour to it. It's very nice. That's lovely. That makes my lips feel really hydrated and nourished. Tastes good too. Tastes really good. It's a little bit sticky, I've got to say, but I don't find that unpleasant on my lips. I just find it really hydrating and nourishing. Okay, so this is the finished look for today. I'm going to do a little bit of a roundup on the ones that I didn't like, the ones that I did like, because some of my opinions have changed the longer I've had these products on my skin. So firstly, I mean, it goes without saying, I really hated this e.l.f. eyebrow palette. It's going to work for some people, it definitely didn't work for me. Let me just talk to you about the Flawless Brightening Concealer, because I didn't like this the other day. It didn't give me any coverage whatsoever. I really liked it when I first applied it today. I'm not so keen on it now. And the reason I'm not so keen on it is, one, it gives very little coverage without a colour corrector on underneath, which is fine and will work for some people, but this really has creased quite badly. It creased quite badly without powder, so I smoothed everything over again. I applied powder and it's continued to crease. And my under eyes actually look worse than they did before. I mean, no, they don't. They don't look worse than before the concealer, but they look more aged because of all the creasing. So I'm gonna have to play around with this a little bit more before I form a proper opinion. I've got a feeling this is going to be one of those things that, although it says it's buildable, it's probably not, because if you build it, it's going to crease. And I built this up today, which is probably where I went wrong. So I'll play around with this a little bit more before I form a proper opinion on it. Let's move on to the Putty blush. This is a perfectly nice product, and that's as far as I'll go with it. It's nice. Let's move on to the mini face palettes. I adore the blushes in these palettes. They're super pigmented, they're really easy to blend out, but the highlighters in the palettes, if you have really fair skin like me, probably not going to suit your skin. So they'll be great as eyeshadow shades, but as a highlighter, probably too dark for you. So I'm a little bit disappointed where that goes. Let's move on to the liquid metallic eyeshadows. I really like these, and I was unsure of them when I first applied them to the lid. Turned out I wasn't applying enough. Once I got the hang of application, I think these are really easy to apply. There's great pigmentation. It looks beautiful on the lid, and these don't budge. So definitely a like from me. Moving on to the Ride or Die Lip Balm, I really like this, and the longer this has been on my lip, the less sticky this has felt. This has really warmed to my lip. It's still slightly tacky, but it just feels more moisturizing on the lip rather than having that sticky feel. And yeah, I like it. The longer I wear it, the more I like it. And last but not least, my ultimate favourite out of everything I've tried today. This is a product that I will reach for even when I'm using high-end makeup. This is the e.l.f. Lash It Loud Volumizing Mascara, and I just think this is really nice. And it definitely works. I mean, my lashes were volumized, and they were volumized very quickly. This is not one of those mascaras that needs 3-4 coats to actually let you notice a difference. I noticed a difference immediately as soon as I started using the wand, which I also love. Great product. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've used any of these products already and you love them or you really don't like them, do let everybody know your thoughts in the comments section below, and hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.